Cameron Young wins elusive first PGA Tour title at Wyndham. Cameron Young secured his first PGA Tour victory at the Wyndham Championship, ending a streak of 7 runner-up finishes. He dominated the tournament, achieving a 9-shot lead early on with 5 consecutive birdies and ultimately winning by 6 strokes. His impressive performance culminated in a final round of 68, tying the tournament scoring record. Young's victory is particularly significant as he became the 1,000th player to win a recognized PGA Tour event. His emotional reaction highlighted the culmination of years of hard work and near misses. He expressed relief and excitement, stating he wasn't going to let another opportunity slip away. The tournament also saw a nail-biting finish for several players vying for a place in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Davis Thompson's hopes were dashed by a final hole 3 putt, while Matti Schmid's dramatic 3-birdie finish secured his spot in the postseason. Mac Meissner finished second, earning a significant payday and improving his FedEx Cup standing. Young's win is timely, boosting his chances of making the Ryder Cup team. His powerful game is well suited to Bethpage Black, the Ryder Cup venue, where he previously achieved a notable amateur victory. While still needing to perform well in the upcoming FedEx Cup playoffs, Young's first PGA Tour win provides much-needed momentum. In our next story, 2025 Wyndham Championship leaderboard grades. Cameron Young dominates to finally notch first career win. Cameron Young secured his first PGA Tour victory at the 2025 Wyndham Championship, winning by a commanding 6 strokes. This win marks a significant milestone, making him the 1,000th different winner in PGA Tour history and ending a streak of 7 runner-up finishes. Young's exceptional performance, particularly his driving and putting, propelled him to the top. Young's final round started with a bogey, briefly raising hopes for his competitors. However, he quickly recovered with 5 consecutive birdies, securing his lead and ultimately finishing at 22 under par. His strong start to the tournament, with scores of 62, 63, and 65 in the first 3 rounds, provided a substantial advantage going into the final day. This victory significantly improves Young's FedEx Cup standings, guaranteeing him a spot in the Tour Championship. It also strengthens his case for a Ryder Cup selection, with Vice-Captain Webb Simpson acknowledging his impressive performance and the challenge it poses for captain's picks. The tournament also saw strong performances from other players, vying for FedEx Cup playoff positions. Mac Meissner's second-place finish significantly improved his standing, while several other players secured their spots in the upcoming playoffs, highlighting the intense competition and high stakes of the Wyndham Championship.
In our next story, OPEC Plus makes another large oil output hike in market share push. OPEC Plus significantly increased oil production by 547,000 barrels per day for September, marking a complete reversal of previous cuts and aiming to regain market share. This decision comes amid concerns about potential supply disruptions due to the ongoing situation in Russia and follows a series of escalating output hikes throughout the year. The increase, amounting to roughly 2.4% of global oil demand, was based on assessments of a healthy global economy and low oil inventories. Despite the increased production, oil prices remain high, with Brent crude closing near $70 a barrel. Analysts attribute this to strong market fundamentals and tight oil stocks, citing the successful absorption of additional barrels into the market. The decision was made during a brief virtual meeting among 8 OPEC Plus members, following pressure from the U.S. on India to curtail Russian oil purchases. The OPEC Plus group, comprising 10 non-OPEC oil-producing countries, including Russia and Kazakhstan, plans to revisit the production levels on September 7. A potential reinstatement of around 1.65 million barrels per day in output cuts, currently in place until the end of 2026, is under consideration. Experts acknowledge that this move successfully reversed major cuts without significantly impacting prices, but the challenge remains to manage the remaining cuts while addressing geopolitical uncertainties. The group's gradual increase in production began in April, progressing to larger than anticipated hikes in subsequent months. The September increase is the latest step in this strategy, which has been influenced by calls for increased output to stabilize the market. The next significant decision for OPEC Plus will hinge on the ongoing geopolitical situation and the group's ability to maintain internal unity.
In our next story, Democratic senators negotiated for release of billions in funds in exchange for confirmation deals, sources say. Intense last-minute negotiations between Senate Democrats and Republicans nearly secured confirmation for dozens of President Trump's nominees before the August recess. Democrats sought billions in government funding, including for the National Institutes of Health, the Global Fund, and various international aid programs, in exchange for their votes. A deal appeared imminent, with an agreement reached to confirm roughly 20 nominees. However, President Trump unexpectedly rejected the agreement at the last minute, leaving numerous nominations pending until at least September. This included high-profile appointments such as Mike Waltz to the UN and Kimberly Guilfoyle to Greece. Several sources attributed the deal's collapse to President Trump's actions, although the exact reasons remain unclear. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer expressed frustration, stating that the president's decision left both Democrats and Republicans bewildered. He denied specific claims of demanding aid for Palestinians in exchange for votes, attributing the failure to President Trump's 11th-hour reversal. President Trump, in a Truth Social post, accused Schumer of political extortion and vehemently rejected the deal. Ultimately, a handful of nominations were confirmed before the Senate adjourned, while the fate of numerous others remains unresolved, pending the Senate's reconvening in September. The abrupt collapse of the negotiations highlighted the deep political divisions in Washington and the unpredictable nature of the final days before Congress's recess.
In our next story, videos of emaciated hostages condemned as Red Cross calls for access. International condemnation is mounting after videos surfaced showing emaciated Israeli hostages, Rom Braslovsky and Ebutar David, held captive in Gaza. The footage sparked outrage, with UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy calling the images sickening and demanding their unconditional release. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with the hostages' families, expressing shock and vowing continued efforts for their return. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, expressed horror at the videos, citing them as stark evidence of the hostages' life-threatening conditions. The ICRC has repeatedly called for access to all hostages to provide medical aid and facilitate contact with their families. While Hamas's armed wing indicated a willingness to cooperate with the Red Cross, it conditioned this on the opening of regular humanitarian corridors and a halt to airstrikes. Protests in Tel Aviv continue, with families of the hostages demanding immediate action from the Israeli government. The families are desperate for the safe return of their loved ones, highlighting the dire situation of the hostages and the growing international pressure on Hamas. Braslovsky's family described his heartbreaking condition, stating he is near death due to starvation and exhaustion. Amidst the international outcry, the Red Cross faces criticism for its perceived inaction, while also navigating challenges in accessing both Israeli and Palestinian prisoners due to the ongoing conflict. The situation remains tense, with the focus firmly on securing the release of the remaining hostages and ensuring their safety and well-being.